morning, good evening, everyone. This is Luda Kopikina with GAI Insights. Welcome to Daily AI News, where we rate AI articles essential, important, and optional. You can find the articles and follow along at gaiinsights.com/articles. Today, I have three people from our regular crew, Adam, Ankaj, and Paul, and I have a new guest, Nina Araujo, who is joining us formally from BCG and transferring into ARIS. And Nina, welcome, and tell us a little bit about what you're doing at ARIS.
Thank you. I'm joining the executive team in support, not as an executive, but in support of their GenAI adoption, and their focus is on transformation.
Wonderful.
Worldwide.
Yeah. Welcome. This will be really cool to hear your insights. So please follow along and let us know whether you agree or disagree with what we are saying in our ratings. All right, let's start with the first article. Ankash, please.
Sure, thanks, Luda. So the first one that we have for today comes from Anthropic, and it is titled, Claude can now create and edit files.
Yeah, I know, Adam, you use Claude and among other models. What did you think about this one?
Actually, I don't use Claude.
Oh, you don't use Claude?
Which is interesting. No, it's one of the few tools I don't actually use because they're pretty restrictive on what you get for free. So I've never really quite caught on to it, which is interesting. But I know a lot of people do, and most people who use Claude, I think these days, are actually through the API, through all the different coding tools and assistants. So it's a pretty big deal here. What they've done is they've added some of those capabilities into that user interface through the browser, where before Claude could do things and have a canvas and present you some code. Now it can actually get into your file system and sorry, not into your file system, but it can create and edit files that then you can save, such as Excel spreadsheets, PowerPoint slide decks, PDFs. We'll see later, even Microsoft likes the way it handles some of those things. So it's bringing it to its own products. But for the moment, I was on the fence between optional and important, potentially important because this is one of the major players. But in some ways, it's a catch up. I mean, this is stuff you can already do in ChatGPT with the agents. It's things you can do in other tools. And for the most part, this is actually a retail tool, not an enterprise tool when you think about Claude.ai. So I thought for our leader, this was probably an optional read.
Actually, they're rolling it out on the enterprise side and then coming to the folks with the pro subscription next, right? So I use Claude, and I think this is a powerful feature that I'm looking forward to using. Okay, so
I use that kind of capability in ChatGPT all the time, so it's great that they're bringing it.
It's optional to important from Adam. What did you think, Nina?
Well, this was an interesting one. It was between important and also essential, because one thing, there was a gap that I saw, still that caveat of not giving the data security enough of attention, especially because in my local server, for example, with MCP tools, I can do that already. And as you said, Adam, too, in ChatGPT and all that. It sort of eliminates that barrier, right, for the non-technical reader, which is wonderful. But there's still that data piece that wasn't quite elaborated for me. It still leaves a little bit to be desired there because it's using, of course, its own computer.
Okay, Ankash, what do you think? Thank you, Nina.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So Luda, I'm with Adam on this one. We have this functionality within ChatGPT for a long time. And there are other tools which let you edit your documents as well. So this is a nice catch-up, but an optional use for now.
Okay. Paul, we're going optional, okay?
Yeah, I just want to highlight two things. I actually don't know a single company using the enterprise version. So I'm kind of interested if they're out there.
I was thinking that as well, Paul,
Yeah, I mean, it's Copilot and ChatGPT on the enterprise. I think this is the one that Ethan Mollick was impressed with what they're doing in spreadsheets. So when he's impressed with something, I think it's just not wrong. I do want to highlight, I mean, they just closed $13 billion, and OpenAI and Anthropic are taking some of the massive amounts of the money and innovating around the user experience, even beyond the model. And I think that's very different. I think if you look at the value add from the model and the other features, you're seeing these more and more integrated tools, at least for some of the API, but certainly on the end user side, get pull ahead here. And I think that's a trend we're going to continue to see. That's really important for this AI literacy upskilling, but
Absolutely.
optional for this article. I agree.
Okay, so we'll put it as optional, but it's an important trend, and integrating, in their case, command with all these file manipulations is a very streamlining capability for workflows.
Well, and Luda, I mean, think 3 years from now, we're going to continue to have all this digital capability in the digital layer, and all these old school source of truths that might just be a data layer.
Yes.
One of the really interesting things on Monday or Tuesday, it was a CIO of Juniper Networks, or maybe I can't remember. Maybe it was one of the CIOs. So they have Workday. Adam, they pay about $1 million a year for the performance management, which is goal setting for the employees. When the employees hack together a lovable thing, it's taken off, and now that's fully supported. So that chunk of software, little features in Workday, they've carved that out. Now doing it for free, and they're going back and telling Workday we're not going to pay for it. So there is absolutely feature functionality moving from the traditional non-digital layer to the digital layer.
Totally. Yeah, absolutely. Okay, optional it is. Let's proceed, Ankaj.
Okay, the next one again includes Anthropic. So Microsoft is now opening its the 365 flow to Anthropic now. So you will see Anthropic's products in Microsoft 365.
Yeah, so we've been hearing news about Microsoft and OpenAI collaborating, but kind of going their separate ways. And this actually confirms this trend. Nina, what did you think about this?
I thought that it was a short article, but especially powerful because of that. I think it's elevating Anthropic's sort of like presence in that market as a a true competitor. I agree with you, Paul. In my experience too, it's typically Copilot and OpenAI are the two leading ones. I rated this one. I was between important and essential. There wasn't really enough information, but it's something to really start taking a look at. They're not. Executive leaders are not really using Anthropic or Claude in that matter, or any of their models. But I think that the bottom line is that is just defining this new moment where Anthropic is just carving more of that space.
Okay, what did you think, Adam?
I was probably between important and essential as well. I think leaning towards important. Some of the outcomes of this will be essential. The capabilities right now, if you want to edit, for example, a PowerPoint with Copilot, which is using OpenAI GPT-5 or 4 under the hood, is still pretty limited. And as we're seeing, Anthropic's bringing a lot of those capabilities to market, and Microsoft is right there lockstep with them. So this is a pretty big deal. It's I guess good news for everyone who's in the Microsoft ecosystem, potentially essential for them, but probably important overall.
Okay, going important. Paul, what do you think?
I was on the central side. I think it's really important that CIOs understand this bifurcation of the roadmap for the next 3 or 4 years. Adam, we just finished up, Jenny did a great job on Copilot education for, I think, about 400 or 500 pretty senior executives at a financial services firm. And one of the things that came up a lot with executives and others, hey, I want to use this in Excel. That's not. And one of the things that was being said was, oh, guys, we don't need to go to ChatGPT because the ChatGPT uses OpenAI inside everywhere. And that's not going to be that case, I think. I don't think it's actually the case now, but as we go forward here. So I think that's an important thing for folks to understand.
Okay.
I also think third, from a it's not so much this particular feature, but this whole divorce that's going on out there between these two companies is something they need to watch.
Yeah, the divorce or the maturation of their stance in the market, what's happening really, and that's a critical item to understand. Okay, Ankaj, going essential actually. What do you think? Okay.
Yes, Luda, essential it is. I think there's another bit here, which is around the user experience. So we have seen working with ChatGPT and Claude that you need to tweak your prompts slightly differently for it to work as effectively as it does with ChatGPT. So I'm not sure how Microsoft will streamline that user experience with the same set of prompts or with the same set of GPTs, right? Similar to what we can do in ChatGPT and what Claude will be able to do with the same set of prompts. So that will be one thing to look forward to.
Yeah, that would be interesting. So Ashish is pointing out that it's a win-win for both parties. That gives Microsoft more depth and leverage, and Anthropic gets access to a very large user base. Absolutely true, Ashish, and that's why this is essential. Let's proceed to the next one.
Okay, the next one comes from Replit, and Replit has launched Agent 3. So this is a autonomous version of Agent from Replit, and it has three key functionalities. So you can do automated testing with this. So basically, with each functionality that the agent develops, it goes to the browser, it tests out that functionality so that you don't have to waste time on that, which makes it 3x faster and 10x more cost effective. Then it can do longer autonomous runs. So it was able to do a run which was more than 200 minutes. So really autonomous agents. And then it can create agents for you, which you can run in Slack or Telegram or other different softwares that you are using.
Well, what was your rating, Ankash?
I Yeah, so Luda, I think this is an important development. So we have seen various coding agents like Cursor, Windsurf, and the ones from OpenAI, Anthropic, and others, right? Most of them, they are good for immediate generation of code, but when you ask them to do something for a longer period of time, that create problems with the code that they generate, or they are not able to do that for a longer period of time. So doing this for 200 minutes and automated testing, I think this takes us toward building out the entire code base autonomously. So I think a very important development, according to me.
Okay, great. So important from Ankash. Nina, where were you?
I agree with Ankaj. I at first, I thought maybe this is really essential, but the reality is, how does that 10x gets measured, right? I still felt that it was too much of a control environment. Didn't have enough information to really go to essential, but it definitely an important, you know, maybe I needed more information, time to deployment, for example, and I find that a lot of those claims, the 10x, 100x, gets lost in, yes, you can debug, but can you find the bugs? And then, I just needed more information to go to essential for this audience.
Yeah. Okay. Important from Nina. Adam, you use Replit. I
Yeah,
hope.
I mean, I've already used Agent 3 tonight for sure. I mean, I'm a huge.
Okay, well, tell us what you thought.
The week Agent 1 came out, I purchased a year's subscription. So I've been a heavy Replit user over the last year. I think this news debatably could be optional because Replit isn't much of an enterprise play at this point. But to Paul's point, people are using Lovable and all sorts of tools to start building in enterprise at this point, and then it's about how do they get adopted. But probably what it makes this important for me, which Ankaj alluded to, is, and Amjad Masad from Replit posted another post today talking about a meter paper that we reviewed maybe a month ago, 6 weeks ago, talking about the length of the tasks that an AI can do autonomously, doubling every 7 months. And we're seeing here that Replit in a year effectively has gone from 2 minutes to 20 minutes to 200 minutes. So that's a 100x in 12 months, not doubling every 7 months. And I think that's really the headline here, is that people are really anticipating the rate at which the capability and the autonomy of these tools is accelerating. But I'm not sure if the news about Replit itself is important in itself, I guess.
Yeah. So, Paul, this is important from the point of view that it provides a more tooled up platform for putting an app that it can be created by vibe coding into a real production environment. And this looks pretty good. What did you think? Important, optional, important, or essential?
Yeah, I think the trend on citizen coding for employees is a really, really important trend. I think this article is important but not essential. The trend is essential. But Adam, think what's going to happen next year. Next year, there's going to be 10, 15, 100,000 college grads hired by big companies here. If you've been hacking around with this as a college grad, as a senior, now you're going to work for Allstate or some insurance company here. You as a CIO, you have to understand that the employees coming in here, this is not a little macro at your Excel. I mean, we thought that the shadow IT, Nina, for just using ChatGPT with confidential data was a concern. What's it going to be like when I have 5,000 employees of 100,000 base here hacking around with Replit,
Each five
and
coding
some
their
cool
own
data?
50 agents. Yeah.
50 agents just ripping around. Yeah.
And besides, this creates its own agents. It's not just your agents. It creates it creates agents at runtime. And yeah, it gives you the monitoring and the dashboard that you can look at them, but nobody's going to look at them. So yeah,
And I
I
think what I want from a government standpoint is I want an agent police. I need some kind of hall monitor of these of who's using agents running around, and I don't know if the tools are there yet.
Yeah, no. Well, I will review another article about the evaluations. Okay, so we're going important on this one. Let's proceed.
Okay, the next one comes from A16Z and it is titled The Great Expansion, A New Era of Consumer Software.
Yeah, I rated it as optional because it's focused on consumer software. There are some interesting insights of what's happening with the startups in the consumer space, and the conversion to the new pricing models, and how those companies are able to expand, grow quite dramatically above 100% because of the runtime pricing and token additions that are needed. So they talk about that those startups have different, more sophisticated pricing architecture. It's freemium plus runtime, usage-based billing. They come with examples, and then there is a quite developed now enterprise bridge from consumer to enterprise. That's an important thing to know. And then they also talk about and give examples, and they talk about actually strategizing and getting to enterprises way earlier. That's advice for the startups. It can be from optional to important, but it's so focused on the startups that I thought it was more optional. What did you think about this, Ankash?
Optional for me as well, Luda. I don't think enterprise leaders have a lot to take from this one, so optional.
Okay. Nina, your thoughts?
Yeah, I went for optional as well. I gave some consideration for the hybrid subscription, which is something that's relatively different for that particular market. But I agree with you, Luda. I think that the examples were kind of cherry picked as well.
Yeah. Okay, Adam, we're going optional here.
Yeah, optional news. I loved the article though, because I haven't seen anyone who's really summarized this landscape in terms of the different pricing models. So it was really fascinating for me to start wrapping my head around, like, everything I read in there sort of resonated. It made sense, and you could see the example and say, "Oh yeah, I get it. That's how they do it." So it's a very interesting read, but
Yeah,
not very relevant.
Yeah, Paul, what do you think? Should we consider putting
definitely optional. I think we've got a good idea later there is an enterprise one. I do think, though, I think we don't have enough industry discussion on the difference between B2B and B2C AI. And I think and Dreesen Horowitz is starting to do that with these articles of just, they have list of just the consumer apps. Obviously, the consumer, I don't know if it's obviously, but for me, it's very clear that the consumer apps and feature functionality is going to be ahead of the enterprise. So the AI leader needs to be monitoring that, what might be hitting me in a year or 2 years, of what's the art of the possible, but optional now.
Okay. All right, optional it is. Let's proceed.
Okay, the next one comes from booking.com and it talks about practical tips for LLM evaluation at booking.com.
Yeah, we've talked about evals and how absolutely critical they are, because hallucinations is the core issue that still needs to be handled. You need to figure out what's the ground truth, and this article walks you through that. Nina, what did you think? Maybe tell us more what you got out of this article and how you rated it.
I thought that it was different from the others. Actually provided a step-by-step, and if I enjoyed, seeing the graphics, something that's a little bit more detailed, but not quite important. Oh, sorry, essential yet. I did rate it as important. Essentially because I found that they were missing addressing the bias. In other words, from what I read, it almost seems like you could create an echo chamber between, LLM as a judge. And just to clarify, LLM as a judge is kind of being done right now, but it's an LLM then judging the other LLM and then standardizing that. And I thought that if you scroll down a little bit towards the bottom, they go through the steps, and then they have this section that's dedicated to how to develop a judge LLM. And then the second one says, choose a strong LLM. And what executives really are looking for is like, well, how do I do that, right? How do I make that call, and how do I go about really implementing that, testing that, and all that? So I rate it as important.
Okay, important from Nina. What did you think, Adam?
Yeah, Nina raised some good points. I was personally leaning a little more towards optional. I feel like I felt like we've heard a fair bit. Like LLM as a judge isn't really a new or an innovative thing. It was nice for them to outline it here. I didn't feel like they went into quite enough detail, as Nina said, about how they did it for me to really rate it as a use case. And since it isn't really something innovative, it's just another example. I went and looked through our AI news, and I think back in April, we were already reporting on articles about LLMs as a judge. So a bit of a replay for me, and didn't add enough to the conversation to rate it important.
I think Adam, though, he built a platform. So he built a tool to provide people with ability to build those LLM judges. So maybe, yeah,
that's sort of a next level of capability.
A next level of coherence, right, in the eval spaces. So I was actually, as a geek in me, I thought that it's primer, and it's a potential and important primer. What did you think about this, Ankaj?
Luda, important for me. So I agree with Adam's point of view that we have discussed LLM as a judge previously a few months back, but most of those discussions were around the research papers that were coming out and not an implementation of LLM as a judge. So I think this is a good article to understand how one can implement LLM as a judge, because there are a lot of specifications that go into that, whether you want to test it offline or you can do it online while your tool is in the production stage, which part of the applications you need to test on a regular basis because it's a probabilistic application, right? So all those things I think are very important. So a good read for an executive.
I like listening to you, I'm thinking essential, because this is a big hole in GenAI in general, and any step-by-step primer, and also preparing the data, figuring out how do you put together the metric is not trivial. And they admit it's not trivial. Everybody admits it's not trivial. And we don't have many articles like that. So, Paul, what did you think? You have the last word.
I'm absolutely essential. I think a couple of reasons. One, the AI leader needs to understand there's a lot of enemies he has or she has for budgets, and they're looking for anything to criticize any AI rollout, and hallucinations and poor quality is a big one. I think second is that I think on the requirements side, we need more, my view is we need more discussion on not just capability, what the use case is, but verifiability and how do we get this thing. So how do we turn lessons from this into requirements? Boy, we want to make sure that, we have high output here. We know it's possible. Here's a great case study on that. And I think third, this is a natural maturation of these systems that used to be kind of one model, one input output. Now these multiple models, multiple different facets of doing in production here, and ensuring that we have high quality data on coming from our data and output is just essential. And that's why I think it's essential for leaders to understand what an eval is and why it's important and different variants and why there's a lot of important innovation going on. And this is a good case study on that important topic.
Yeah. Ashish agrees with you. We put it essential. Thank you, Paul. This was a good articulation of what this area, why important. So, all right, let's proceed. We have 2 more guys going, so we need to speed up a little bit. Next one, Akash.
Sure, Luda. So the next one comes from AWS, and it's a case study about how London Stock Exchange is detecting market abuse with their AI-powered surveillance guide on Amazon Bedrock.
Yes, Adam, what did you think about this one? It's regular use case.
Yeah, in the use case category, it felt to me like it didn't have enough about impact, and it was still a bit on the experimental side. But the more I thought about it, the more I thought this really is an important example in a use case, probably because it has to do with financial institution. It's a very compliance heavy place where they actually have a really good production use case going. And effectively what it is there's a news service, and they're trying to ingest this news service, read the articles, and classify whether or not there's price sensitivity and what the justifications are for that. So it's a pretty straightforward pipeline in terms of how using some sort of augmentation of process can really speed the time to resolution. And then this is just a specific use case as an application of that. But given that, I think it also has pretty broad implications in terms of, there's probably things we could take away from this in terms of the AI factory we're building and how we're using the intelligence around the generation and summarization of the content that we're searching for as well. So probably an important from me.
Important. Nina, where were you?
Agree with that, and important.
Ankash?
Important, Luda.
All right. Important it is, Paul, okay?
Yep.
Great. Thank you for speeding up. All right, let's go to the last one.
Yes, Luda. So the last one comes from ByteDance, and it talks about Seedream 4.0, which is their new image generation model. So basically, Seedream 3.0, there was no Seedream 3.0, so they had 2 models in the 3.0 category, one to generate the images and other to edit them. In this particular version, they have combined both the functionalities. So with Seedream 4, you can generate images as well as edit them through prompts. It also helps you give a batch of images to Seedream 4.0, and it can generate multiple outputs in one go. It provides you high resolution images. So all those good things are there, and some of the community members on Twitter, they are comparing it to Nano Banana from Google as well. But I haven't been able to test it yet, so still optional for me.
Okay. Yeah, it sounds like it's a catch-up, right? Ankash, if you scroll down to the measurements, how they compared themselves to other players, it looks like it's a much of a catch-up. You can't quite see, but the blue one is actually Gemini 2.5. So they're getting there, but really, right? Correct?
Yes, Luda.
Yeah. Adam, what did you think?
Yeah, I'd agree. Optional.
Optional. Okay. Nina?
Optional as well.
Everyday miracles. But the editing capabilities of images is really now incredible. So Paul, we're going optional. Okay.
Yeah, but Luda, that's what Miracle Land looks like. We see that all over the board. Every second's a miracle. So, Luda, before you go on, I thought Sheesh had a really good comment back to earlier comment about, oops, that wasn't it. This one here.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Do you fine tune the judge or prompt the judge? I thought that was a really good discussion point.
Yeah, no, totally. It's an area where there will be a lot of experimentation and wisdom. I think expertise that is required. So absolutely. Okay.
And I think it's an area that's going to start varying by function area. It might look a little different from medical versus legal versus how much reg you're using versus non-reg versus.
Yeah, Yeah, no, absolutely. And I don't think we have enough yet of this type of articles to go there. All right. Any announcements, Paul?
Just that Ashish is noticing that you're a good taskmaster, Luda. So you have an accolade for
Hard task.
It's sometimes not very easy because we have very spirited analysts here, including our
heard it.
analysts. So that,
Yeah.
yeah, very good.
Only
Thank you.
two announcements on my end. This Monday, our Learning Lab at 4 Pacific, 7 Eastern. Rosemary and others are doing another session on the SEO changes that are going on in this answer engine economy. So really tune into that. And then lastly, we're now less than 3 weeks from our conference, and lots of energy around that. So if you're able to attend, please do, because it's just a fabulous 15 CIOs. Jeffrey from Harvard's going to run a live HBS case with the entire 700-person audience, and just
we
a
will
great way to
have
learn.
And we will have Women in AI breakfast. On
Women
the
in AI
same day.
breakfast. Adam's going to be doing key prompts. Ankaj is going to go over a buyer's guide. We're going to have training sessions. We're going to have a physical robot there from Boston Dynamics. Very, very exciting.
Yeah, really exciting. Okay, for today, we have 2 essentials, 2 importance, and the rest were optional. Thank you very much for listening. Thank you for participating. Really, Ram, Ashish, Brenda, really thank you. Nina, thanks for joining, and thanks for adding your wisdom to the discussion.
Thank you.
And we'll see you tomorrow.